This is breaking news from CBS News Chicago.
Good evening. I'm Joe Donlin, live in the CBS News Chicago Broadcast Center. I want to update you on what has been a chaotic evening in the Loop. 2 shootings, one at the signature location of downtown, that is State and Randolph, right at the Chicago Theater. At least 6 people have been shot. One of them was a mass shooting. Shortly after that shooting, there was another shooting nearby at Adams and Dearborn. Let's get right to our Charlie DeMar. He is live at the scene of that first shooting, State and Randolph. Charlie, what is the latest?
Yeah, Joe, you mentioned it. We are in the backdrop of the Chicago Theater right behind me. The scene has quieted down since we last checked in throughout the 10 o'clock hour, but this was the first shooting here. A CPD spokesperson tells me at least 6 people were shot between at least 2 different shooting scenes. We saw at least 4 people being treated by first responders here at Randolph and State, loaded into ambulances and taken away from here. While we were out here, there was another shooting scene that happened just blocks from where we are now. Alderman Brian Hopkins tweeted out just a few moments ago. He says that one of these victims, that there's at least one person with critical injuries with life-threatening gunshot wound to the torso. Multiple police officers attacked tonight and injured, maced, attacked with stun guns, and at least one police officer has been hospitalized tonight. Again, we saw just victim after victim here. We saw at least 4 from this scene. A Chicago police spokesperson confirming to us at least 6 people. He said to me, 6 people and counting, as this is still a very chaotic scene right in the Loop. There were thousands of people here tonight between the tree lighting, the Chris Kindle Market. This was the start of the holiday season. We are on State Street. You can see the trumpets on Macy's. You have the windows here. This is iconic Chicago in the holidays, marred, overshadowed, unfortunately, by this mass shooting in the Loop tonight. Chicago police, they are obviously still out here, still trying to gather details from looking at the victims who were loaded into these ambulances. These are young people. These were teenagers. We have seen Chicago police officers after the shooting telling some of these young kids who are still down here to go home. The night is over. There is no reason for them to be here unaccompanied. Joe, that's what we've gathered so far, and of course, still a lot more to come tonight.
Charlie, a couple of points here for our viewers who are watching this. This afternoon, you and I had talked about the possibility of a lot of chatter online that there might be some of these sort of teen takeovers, if you will, tonight. When we hear these, and there's this much chatter about it, typically they don't happen, but tonight, there was concern, at least even at the tree lighting earlier tonight. City officials were aware of this online chatter. Is there any indication that what's happened tonight led from what we all thought might be a possibility tonight?
Yeah, over the years, these teen takeovers have been an issue, have been a focal point for Chicago police. Social media was filled with young teenagers saying they were planning on coming down to Millennium Park. So if I know it, if we know it, if the media knows it, that kids are planning on it, certainly Chicago police investigators who spend a lot of time on social media, they were aware of it and presumably prepared for a large influx of young people. But just walking downtown, you could tell, there were a lot of people here, a lot of young people here unaccompanied. Teens, people who looked under the age of 18, without adults, without supervision. And yes, usually when they are telegraphed, when there is a lot of chatter, then police will ramp up their patrols. They'll be vocal about it before it happens. And a lot of times that does deter something from happening. Those teen takeovers won't happen. A lot of times these events happen out of the blue, that no one is prepared. We've seen usually when it goes from winter to the warmer months that Chicago police, for a lack of a better word, they've been questioned or criticized for being caught flat-footed when there are a large influx. But that wasn't tonight. There was a huge show of force here downtown tonight. Chicago police were prepared for people, for families, and for the possibility of young people downtown. This is not something new. This is not something novel just this year for the tree lighting. We have asked the mayor this before. We've asked Superintendent Snelling and other superintendents of the Chicago Police Department what plans are ahead of large gatherings like this when there has been instances of, unfortunately, violence or large groups of young people who make it, unfortunately, unsafe for the majority of the people who came here to have a good night with their families, to see the tree Millennium Park, to go get some mulled wine, some candied nuts at Chris Kindle Market, look at the windows, enjoy Christmas. Unfortunately, the loop is covered in crime scene tape. It really is hard to see, hard to fathom that just the juxtaposition of the joy of the holiday with flashing police lights, crime scene tape right here in the loop.
Yeah, it really has been a festive and enjoyable evening up until this point. But Charlie, I have to say that it was bubbling up even earlier. When I left the tree lighting ceremony at about 8 o'clock tonight, there were undercover security who said to me, "Where are you going?" And I said, "Back to the studio." And they said, "Not now. No. This is we'll give you an escort." So at that point, it was bubbling up, and I saw a lot of the teens you're talking about who were by themselves. But I do bring that up because you saw a lot of the folks who have been injured, and you thought, at least from your eye, they were young. Some of these victims were young. Let's set up and go back because this started right before 10 o'clock, right as our newscast went on the air. When you got there, you saw 2 victims on the street, but that was just the beginning, right? Because there were at least 2 more ambulances and maybe even 3 that came over the next 15 or 20 minutes.
Yeah, it was noticeable right here in front of the Walgreens, right at the corner. That's where they were working on one victim right when we got here. And then a little further down, that's where a second victim was. There's an entrance to the State Street Red Line that goes down right there. That's where we saw 2 just from where we are, where we were rather. It was chaotic first few moments of the scene, but we kept seeing paramedics bringing out victims in wheelchairs, then transferred to stretchers, and then worked on in those ambulances. And at least 4 people here. Again, that spokesperson with the Chicago Police Department says a minimum of 6, and that number could rise. That is just what they have at this moment. Along with these people, the victims rather, a Chicago police officer, at least one Chicago police officer, according to Alderman Brian Hopkins, is being treated for injuries tonight. So this was chaotic. We have seen fights. To your point, our crew did see a number of fights throughout the loop before the shooting happened. So there was a lot of people, obviously, Chicago Police Department doing their best to keep things under control. But there was a lot of people here. There was a lot of elements, a lot of the potential was there for something to happen.
Charlie, one more quick question before I let you go. Any idea if police are planning a news conference tonight?
Unclear. I spoke with a spokesperson for the Chicago Police Department about a half hour ago. That's when we were here at this scene, again, right by the Walgreens at Randolph and State. As we were here, I had a conversation with him trying to get some preliminary information. We were talking, and as that happened, there was another shooting that broke out just down the street on Dearborn here, Dearborn and about Adams. And I asked him, do you think you're going to be speaking tonight? He didn't have clarity on whether or not the Chicago Police Department brass, whether that is Superintendent Larry Snelling or another white shirt, another supervisor, would give an update once they have this under control. But it is going to take some time for Chicago Police to understand what they're dealing with before they can give clarity to what happened tonight.
No doubt, a lot of pieces to put together. Charlie, thank you very much live for us at State and Randolph. Speaking of that second shooting, let's go now to that location. Adams and Dearborn, our Noel Brennan is there. And Noel, I understand 2 ambulances have just passed behind you there.
Yeah, a lot of activity, Joe, in the past couple minutes. You mentioned those ambulances. You see Chicago Police Department vehicles pulling in behind me. Officers have been milling around here. The whole intersection has been taped off with yellow police tape. There's some red police tape as well. Looks like there's some clothing that has been left in the middle of Dearborn. We don't have the number of victims in this shooting. We don't know injuries at this point. Still trying to gather some information here at the scene. A few minutes ago, I did speak to some young women who told me they were on their way to get a pizza out here about 45 minutes ago, and they saw a large group of young people. They said about 50 or so young people, and there was a large fight that was happening right in this area. And they said that there was a teenage boy who was being beaten up in the street. They saw that happening as they were going to go get some food. By the time they got their food and got back to this location, they told me they saw all of the police tape out here, all of the officers out and about, and didn't know that there had been a shooting, but they were not surprised to hear that that was the case after witnessing the large fight happening at this location. So they believe that what they saw might have been connected to the police response here and the shooting that we're hearing about. But certainly not the end to the night that we were all anticipating and hoping for, the start of festive holiday season with the Christmas tree lighting and Kindle Market opening up. I was, Joe, doing a live shot at the top of the 10 o'clock newscast when that first shooting happened, and police cars streaming by the lobby of our station. And then not too long after that, of course, the shooting happened out here. So just getting out here to the scene, trying to gather some more information about how many people might have been shot. And as soon as we learn that info, we'll, of course, pass it along to you guys.
All right. Noel Brennan, thank you, live at Adams in Dearborn, the site of the second shooting tonight. And again, everything we have at this point is just what we've put together from a brief conversation with a CPD spokesperson, that coming from Charlie DeMar. But we can tell you at least 6 people have been shot in the Loop tonight. One mass shooting at State and Randolph. As we've said, the signature intersection of the Loop, right there by the Chicago Theater. It appears that at least 4, maybe 5 were shot in that first incident at State and Randolph. And so that would mean that at least 1, possibly 2, were shot at this second location at Adams and Dearborn. And I can tell you too, just again anecdotally from some of our workers here and the employees at CBS News Chicago, one of our producers had family in the area of that second shooting. They came through the newsroom just a short time ago and said that they had heard 3 gunshots in that area, and that's when they took off and saw everyone else running as well. So what was a festive night, as Charlie pointed out, in the Loop. We lit the Christmas tree tonight in Millennium Park. We had the Kindle Market open today. There were thousands of people downtown in the Loop, but as we know now, there were large groups who were intent perhaps on getting into trouble tonight, and they caused plenty of it, because we have at least 6 people shot in the Loop. We are not sure if police are going to actually hold a news conference tonight to try to button up some of these loose ends. As you can imagine, there is a lot to figure out, a lot of victims, potentially a lot of suspects. We haven't heard much about that, but we do know, again, at least according to Alderman Brian Hopkins, at least 1 police officer was hospitalized tonight. But he said multiple police officers had been attacked and injured with mace and stun guns. So we are going to step aside for just a minute. If we do hear from police, or if we understand they will have a news conference tonight, it's 11:30 right now, Central Time. So if we do hear that they are going to hold a news conference with some information, we will cut back in here for you and let you know. Otherwise, we will have the latest tomorrow on CBS News Chicago in the AM with Suzanne Lemonnier. For now, I'm Joe Donlin. Have a good night.
This has been breaking news from CBS News Chicago.